Hi there, this is Mark Myers reporting. From 1991, in March, I moved to Perth. From Sydney to Perth. Age would have been between 5 and 6 years of age. Anyway, that's actually when I moved to Perth. And as I moved to Perth with my mother. I moved to Perth with my mother, Wendy Myers, with my sisters Amy and Jackie Myers. My mother was moving to Perth because my auntie, Elaine Myers, was actually fighting with my mother and fighting for custody for the children. That's why my mother moved to Perth. Anyway, we moved to Perth. Anyway, as I moved to Perth, I lived in Perth for a time. And that was that. I went to Edgewater Primary School. And I went to a number of other schools beyond that point of reference. I got kicked out of Edgewater Primary School. I got kicked out of Edgewater Primary School. Let me tell you what happened on the first day of education. First day of education, when I got to year 1, I went to see the teacher. I was trying to learn how to actually trying to learn at school. And the teacher she didn't help me as this, but I think she said, "So Mark, we go down to see the school dentist to have a tooth examination." I was saying to her, I see a private dentist because my mother told me a number of times at home to see a private dentist. And the school teacher is saying, "No, I demand you to go down and see the school dentist at once." So she walked up to me, grabbed me by the ear, and dragged me down to the principal's office where the school dentist was. And then saying, as she dragged me down to the school principal's office where the dentist was, I went and saw the dentist. And as I saw the dentist is saying, "You got perfect teeth." He gassed me unconscious. He ended up removing and extracting a few teeth from my mouth. And then he re-drilled those teeth back in and he screwed them back in. And he replaced a few teeth and actually put a new teeth back in. And he actually stripped away all the enamel. He slit the tooth from the side as it is. And he ended up growing the tooth back as it is in a weird way. And he caused a very severe incident of dental injuries inside my mouth. And I've got a number of dental injuries because of it. And as a matter of fact, I need a lot of repairs from the dentist from this day and time to actually get the teeth repaired. Anyway, that was that. And that was going back in 1991, but I had good teeth. Why would I need to have a dental repair over a dentist in 1991 actually vandalising my teeth and sexually assaulting me and actually raping me in a weird way that I never knew what happened? And the thing is, what I remember was after I was actually in the dentist chair, next minute I was gassed unconscious. Next minute after that, I remember waking up and I remember cutting my teeth. Blacked out again. Next minute I was over his shoulder out the door. Next minute after that, I was actually up against the wall near the toilets, sitting down in a weird position. I don't remember sitting down. I never did that as this in all my life. And that's sad. I went back to go see if the school staff were in the principal's office, and there was no principal staff members or anyone working at that hour. But the school dentist saw me again. He charged after me. He caught me. He gassed me unconscious and dumped me back there again. I found this rubber glove sleeve and that's what I found. I thought it was actually from the janitor's closet, but it was actually at Edgewater Primary School this event happened. And I found out that that was actually not a rubber glove sleeve, it was actually a condom. So you had sex with me illegally. I was an underage child at the time, about 6 years or 7 years of age at the time. And that was about that. And that's about it. Beyond that point of reference, let's skip further ahead. Further years ahead, my mother actually mistreated the family. She became violent towards the children. Amy and Jackie messed and trashed the house on a daily event. Wendy was kept on saying Satan or your demons prayers, as this used to say, and she also walked up and down the hallway talking to herself. In fact, with us, no one inside the room at the time. And when I conversed to her as this and saying, what's going on? She said, saying, I'm minding my own business, and I keep to myself. I say, now leave me alone. And so that's what she did. So don't talk to me as I'm fighting with someone. And so I didn't know what she was going on about. Anyway, that was that. She did that. Anyway, went further ahead to the next film event. After that, then, in 1994, as it is, my sisters actually moved out of the house, went to my nan's house in Muttaloo. After that, then we moved from Perth. I moved from Perth as well, so I moved to Muttaloo, as is over in Perth as it is, from Edgewater to Muttaloo in Perth, and I moved over to my nan's house. My nan and Patrick said something very clearly, saying they want to go on a Queensland vacation. We went to a Queensland vacation as it is. Jackie ruined the vacation site. After that event, then it went from there to the next fun event. It went from there to it went from the Queensland vacation site as it is. Then we moved back to Perth. Then a little while later, my nan told me to move back to my mother's. And after that, I moved back to my mother's house as it is. And there was a bit of a fight quarrel over that. A little while later, my mother was saying, you say to yourself, I say to myself, and we can all get the peace. And so, for those years, everything was going smoothly. One day my mother came out of the woodwork and said, saying, Mark, and saying, I'm sorry for what I did going back all those years ago. I'm sorry for being hard and bitter. She told me that. She said, I changed my ways. And so I explained what happened. And she wasn't listening to the first time, but now she wished to listen. So now she's listening. And now she became cooperative for the first time. Anyway, after that, then it went from there to the next fun event. It went down to, it went back to, from Perth as it is. One day my mother says, saying, Mark, I've got request orders from the Lord to move back to Sydney. I was halfway through semester of year 8 and year 7 and year 8. And I barely completed any years at school. But the thing is, I was between year 7 and year 8 as it is at school. And anyway, what happened is that my mother demanded me to move back to Sydney with her. And I moved back to Sydney with her as is at that time. She said saying before she left Perth, she said saying, Mark, when your mother moves back to Sydney, she'll be a different woman. And you won't recognise me after this event. That's what she said to me. I thought, well, what do you mean by that? Anyway, she moved into the house. She moved into a caravan park in Sydney after catching a plane trip to Sydney as it is. She got a plane trip to Sydney, then she moved to a caravan park. After moving to the caravan park, she stayed there for about a couple of weeks. Then she moved from the caravan park to 50 Crown Crescent, Wayland. After that, then in that time, my uncle Richard provided a computer, but the computer crashed shortly later and became a pile of junk. Anyway, that was that, and the computer never got used from that day forward. Anyway, what happened was after that, then it went further ahead to the next following event, that we moved into the house at 50 Coram Crescent, Wayland. There was no internet connections at that day and time. It was old-fashioned telephone lines inside the house. There was no internet cables, no computers, no computers that were actually operative, and no internet lines been established, so no internet with the internet masters. So there was no internet master setups for this. No Telstra setups with Telstra. Anyway, that was that, and we didn't have computers, didn't have iPhones, and didn't have any advanced software at that time. The advanced software had actually malfunctioned, and my mother refused to get it repaired. And that was that. And it sat inside the garage as it is later on for a portion of time. It still sat there until the day we actually left. Anyway, in the time from March 1998 to May 1998, my mother was actually in Sydney. She moved to the house in Mount Druitt. She had been mistreating me. She had a breast lump removed shortly after moving in. And she became very demanding and very, very demanding as it is. And very threatening as it is as well, and threatened to be abusive, and threatened to be dangerous. And she was walking up and down the hallway talking to herself. Anyway, one day she demanded me to go up the street to get some groceries up the street. And I got some food up the street as it is, against my intuitions. And there was an old 1960 sports car that pulled up behind me on the way back home after I paid for the groceries at Woolworths. Anyway, the old 1960 sports car as it is was actually what I ended up having to face him down as it is, and I told him to go around. I said, you got the whole road to yourself, go around. Anyway, I ended up getting off the side of the road and I ended up getting up onto the verge. I said, you got the whole road to yourself, now go around and stop being a bully on the road. Anyway, he refused to move. He said, I refuse to move. So that's what he said. And he said, saying, get out and bash the shit out of him. And that's what he said. And after that event, it went from there to the next following event. It went from that following event as it is to the next following event. After that event, then I ended up riding away as fast as I could. He clubbed the back end of my tyre in with a steel baseball bat. I got jettisoned off the bike. I dislocated my shoulder, had a head-on fracture in my arm. I got my shoulder put back in at Mount Druitt Hospital, and that was that. 3 days after I dislocated my shoulder, my mother said something very clearly, saying, you do as you're told and you do work around the house even if you've got a dislocated shoulder. I don't give a shit. I don't care how dangerous and how severe the injury is. I don't care if it's life-threatening, and I don't care if you can die from it. Anyway, I demand you to do work around the house and do as you're damn well told, or otherwise I'll bash into you. That's what she said to me. And so I was very critically injured as this with a dislocational shoulder injury, a level 7 dislocational shoulder injury, very close to a level 10. Anyway, it was very severe and I was having continuous dislocations. And I was having multiple dislocations shortly after dislocating my shoulder the first time. And she was fighting me as this, and she was attacking me on a daily basis. I was continuously dislocating my shoulder on a frequent day-to-day basis. And I had been calling on the police department for emergency assistance. And the police department says, I'd say, we don't come down to we don't provide emergency assistance for this particular case as this. So do you need to say, are you schizophrenia? And anyway, they kept using the schizophrenia joke on me. I said, my mother's become dangerous. So I need emergency assistance. This because my mother's become dangerous. She's become violent. She's been bashing into me with steel vacuum cleaner poles. I say, are you crazy? I say, crazy? I say, I wouldn't help me. Anyway, that was that. And when he had actually put a complaint into the police department to say that I was crazy. Anyway, it went further ahead than that. After that, the police actually refused to provide assistance. When it became 3 days before January 2001, my mother walked into my room and bashed my head in with a steel vacuum cleaner pole. And she said saying very clearly, shortly after I woke up, she said saying, Mark, don't tell anyone that your mother bashed you in the head with a steel vacuum cleaner pole, or otherwise they'll lock your mummy up. Because they'll say she's dangerous. And she was acting weird. 3 days after that, I don't remember what happened proportionally between that time. I remember waking up a portion of time after that event at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't remember the day before. I don't remember what happened in that day and time up to such a point. I remember waking up and finding out that my mother actually walked in my room at 5 o'clock in the morning in January 2001. She walked into my room at 5 a.m. in the morning. On the VCR, it's the same 5 a.m. Anyway, she walked into my room and she bashed into me with a steel vacuum cleaner pole. I sat up because I got clubbed in the legs the right way, as this to physically cause me to fly up. I was calling out in horrendous pain because she whacked me in the legs the right way. And I was actually in a lot of pain. And she didn't break my legs to this, but the thing is she hit me hard enough to physically cause me to be bruised. And that was that. Anyway, what happened was she ran off as it is shortly after I jumped up out of the bed. And I think she must have hit me in the groin, because that's actually also the other point of reference too. And I actually got hit in the groin, and so it was actually quite a severe injury. And I got flung up as this, and she jumped off, and she ran off as this, and she ran back to her room. Anyway, I moved the bed directly in front of the door. As I moved the bed in front of the door as it is, I just passed out just shortly after that event. I landed on the bed just in the nick of the moment. I've forgotten how I actually landed on the bed. I just lost trace as this and passed out and fell on the bed. Anyway, that's what actually happened. And what happened after that, the thing is, Wendy Myers had actually been bashing into me from May 1998 to January 2001. Now, at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's actually when this event happened. at the time index of 8:10 in the morning, as it is, for mother, they called the cops to come to the house. After that, the cops came to the house, and I remember seeing them in the ghost room, as it is, and this is what happened. I remember she welcomed the police department into the house. The cops came in, pushed the door in. The door was hanging off the hinges. And it's my bedroom. And my bedroom had been under attack for some years. And anyway, what happened was, the cops slapped me on the face and said, Marky, wake up. You have your eviction orders. And he rolled me onto my side, cuffed me. I blacked out. Woke up just again and woke up, saw it was 8:10 in the morning. Blacked out and woke up again. It was actually out in the hallway. Saw the time, 8:10 in the morning. Passed out. Woke up at the psychiatric hospital at 9 o'clock in the morning. I woke up. The judge said, saying, Mark and Wendy, could you please come in? The judge then said, saying, Mark, I was on to your mother a little earlier. She said, saying, you're hearing voices. I said, Judge, I said, say nothing of the sort. I said, no, I take phone calls before proceedings. Anyway, she's saying, Mark and Wendy, could you please come in? Anyway, it went further ahead than that. After I sat down inside the foyer room, the judge says, let's get to business. So, Mark, your mother's just saying you're hearing voices. I say, Judge, I say nothing of the sort. I say, from May 1998 to the day of now, my mother's been bashing into me as is on a daily event. And she's been bashing into me ever since I've dislocated my shoulder as it is. And the thing is, she's refusing to let me heal up. And she's been bashing into me every day of the week. Practically once every 15 minutes, every half hour, she's been bashing into me. She's been going round the clock as she's stark raving mad. She's dangerous. I don't know what she's up to. She's up to doing something because it is. I have no idea what her plans are. What was the time index of this particular event? January 2001. Does it lead up to any events? September 11, 2001. And now let's get back to the story of Wendy Myers' story over my story as well too. Anyway, in that event, I faced the judge down. The judge said to me, saying, Mark, do you see things? I said, if I can't see things, I regard as blind. I did not know the one who hit me, because at 5 o'clock in the morning, my mother walked into my room and she hit into me with a steel vacuum cleaner pole. And then after that, then I sat up as it is. She got spooked. She ran out of the room, and at 8:10 in the morning, the cops were called to the house. I explained the whole story all over again. I said, I told them what happened. So after that, it came right back to the point of reference. And by the time the whole story came back, it was so severe. But the judge said, I don't give a shit, just answer the goddamn questions. Do you see things? Anyway, he was demoralising. And he physically was attacking from a different point of view. I said, I can't see things, so regardless blind, I don't know the one that hit me. So how many people inside the room? So anyway, he answered those questions. And by the time I added up the psychiatric test was a homosexual gay excitement of a test, and I added it up as homosexual. then it came back to a point of reference that as soon as I identified with the homosexual test, he says I have to call him crazy and lock him up. And that's that. So that's what happened. And so I got called crazy and was sent to a psychiatric hospital in January 2001. And that's that. So let me tell you what I said to the judge after I actually added up the test. Do you see things? I see you very clear. You have eyes for your client. You're sexually engaged with the side of your client. Do you hear things? I hear you very clear. If I came out and said it, you'd be in shitload of trouble. How many people inside the room? By law, my mother's not permitted to be inside this room because she'll be gathering information over this court case. So I was saying that that's you and me. That was actually a sexual arousal of sexual concern because of narrowly a sexual intimidation with your client, and a matter of fact, I find that to be offensive. And he says, here's the king. Kings and queens usually get married. What day is it? The day we first met. What's your name? What's my name? Are you suggesting the hidden word proposal marriage? Would you ever hurt yourself for me? That's body modification, tattoo, or circumcision. And I told him. He says, Wendy, I had to call him dangerous, and that's what he said. After that, then that's actually what was said. And after that, the judge called me crazy, and that's actually the full story. And so after I came out and said that to the judge testified and said, saying, look, it came back to judge me back the other way. I got locked up in January 2001 in Blacktown Psychiatric Hospital in Bungarraby, Blacktown. I was locked up for 9 months, and I was held unconscious for 9 tormentive months on mission mind control. And they put me on what they call mission mind control as it is. They tried what they call mental tapping. You know, what they call mental tapping. To keep someone unconscious for 9 exalted months with electric shock therapy, and to be tormented for 9 months unconscious and not be allowed to wake up to actually have the power of the day to even be alert in that point of reference of time. So that's actually what I have to report. So that's that. And what happened to Wendy Myers from January 2001 to September 11, 2001? What happened to her? She disappeared. After I got back home in September 11, 2001, after I got back home to 50 Karama Crescent, Wayland, Mount Druitt, I got returned back home. Anyway, I was returned back home, and I don't remember getting back home. Anyway, by the time I woke up, 9/11/2001 just happened a couple of days before. Anyway, I saw the news report all over TV, and it was all over TV. And I was actually at the house of 50 Karama Crescent, Wayland, Mount Druitt. And that's whereabouts I was located in New South Wales, Sydney. And that is the full report. What happened to Wendy Myers between September 11, 2001 to January 2001? What happened? Between January 2001 to September 11, 2001, what happened to Wendy Myers? She went home. She was dangerously violent, and she'd been causing harm. What was she doing? She was causing mischief. I don't know what she was doing. Then I found out that she also got the house in danger of being sold up because she wasn't very well with her money. And she did a dangerous stunt with her money. I don't know what she was doing. But she also risked the house. I found the house was actually on the market for a time. And I found that she was actually crying out poor. And then she finally got the house off the market and she bought the house back. What happened? I don't know. Anyway, that's actually what happened. My mother bought all these bags for Phyllis Raymond, and she bought bag after bag. And she bought so many bags, it was like she was trying to say, Phyllis, you're a bag. Anyway, that's actually what was actually going on. And anyway, that's the full report. In 2006, my mother sent me to a psychiatric hospital again. And then I found out, she says, so keep the house clean or I'll send you to a psychiatric hospital. But she was being violent and she was being abusive. She was making a tremendous volume of mess. And in 2006, she sent me back to a psychiatric hospital. And in 2006, guess what happened? Let me explain what happened. I woke up in a psychiatric hospital and it was 2006. And then I saw on TV at the psychiatric hospital on 10 News, they said about the Bali bombings. What happened to Wendy Myers in 2006? What happened to her again? She did the same thing again. I found out about the 2006 Bali bombings. Where was the absentee and why she was kicking me out of the house? Why was she kicking me out of the house? Unless that's actually her stage plan of doing some sort of nasty stunt in the legal system. So there's another violent event related to Wendy Myers, 2006. They refused to listen to me and refused to put this information together. And the police department should have done a background check between January 2001 to September 11, 2001. Why would that be so severe? That's actually what they call time of embarkment to commit the deed. And to actually be involved in and commit deed in time index of 9/11/2001. Being violent to someone prior to being involved in the crime. And also saying, look, I'd say there's enough push of leeway to push her into jail. And to push her behind the asylum doors to say, look, you have no more power of the tongue to vote for that particular power of leeway like that again. And then 2006, she did it again. She pushed me into the psychiatric hospital. But the thing is, with the leeway of the judgment of 2006 Bali bombings, the court judge of the court bailiff Bali bombings, as it is, could say, look, I pushed Wendy Myers into the psychiatric asylum again and push her in. But the judge is saying, no, I'm pushing Mark Myers in. So I got pushed into a psychiatric asylum in 2006. So I got pulled away. And Wendy Myers actually said, saying that I just can't handle him. I say he's dangerous. I say he's unreachable. And anyway, she was using excuses like this. I never did anything wrong. I never caused any harm to her. And that's actually what happened. Anyway, from 2006 onwards, she has been very horrendously abusive with a psychiatric hospital. She kept on using them frequently in 2006 to 2007. In 2007, I got taken out of the psychiatric hospital about a year later. And then I was actually at home. I spent time at home from 2007 onwards. In 2010, I went to a computer class. In 2010 to 2011, 2010 to 2011, my mother actually happened to have actually called the psychiatric hospital on me again and got me sent away back to Blacktown Psychiatric Hospital. And I was locked up again. She says, I can't look after him, so I'll lock him up. She was acting stark raving mad, and she was suffering cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, brain cancer, and she had just started behaving a bit Looney Tunes. And the thing is, she did the same thing again. And this is between 2010 and in 2010, 2012, she did the same thing all over again. In 2012, March 2012 as it is, my mother passed away of breast cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, brain cancer, and that's what she died of. And anyway, she passed away of that. And that's actually the full report. In 2012, in March, that's when Wendy Myers passed away. March 2012 was when Wendy passed away. And that's when Wendy Myers passed away and died. So, okay. Anyway, I got this phone call going back in June 2012. Well, as soon as I came to Perth, I got this phone call going back in June 2012. That fully explained the 9/11/2001 case and told me the whole story. And so saying, you're at home, you have no criminal record of any kind, you should be okay. This is why 9/11/2001 happened. I told you the whole story. It's actually on Mark and Island Security. You're at home, you have no criminal record of any kind, so you should be okay. You get back home from being out, you make phone calls, and one day they storm down to your house, put you under arrest and drag you to a psychiatric hospital. They put you on interrogation meds to weed up the church. They weed out your bank account, you name it, they steal it. You're a multi-billionaire. They confiscate your bank account, you name it, they steal it. They sign you up with new bank accounts with a pension. They steal your multi-billion-dollar fortune pension from the movie industry and from the situation of the worksite agreements that you previously had. And the thing is, your multi-billion-dollar worksite's been confiscated and also been put on science records not to contact you by law. Anyway, you're suffering amnesia. You don't know what else is going on because you've been put on magic pill to erase bad memory after the interrogation meds, LSD, and then the situation of magic pill to erase bad memory. So they've done it sensibly to fuck up your mind, to fuck up your intelligence. And I found out this was actually what happened to the 9/11/2001 case that led to 9/11/2001. Anyway, after I did this, they did it to the church. One day I found out they actually also did this as well. When I found out that this was actually going on around the same time. I just recently added up what was going on. Anyway, when I added up the rest of the story, I realised what was going on. So let me explain the story to you as it is. The Ku Klux Klan were under surveillance by the state government. Anyway, the state government were actually hunting the Ku Klux Klan down because of their terrorism records. Anyway, they said they wanted to punish the Ku Klux Klan. So the Ku Klux Klan was actually under surveillance. Anyway, basically saying they put them in a psychiatric hospital, sent them to a psychiatric hospital, put them in interrogation meds. They put them on interrogation meds, magic pill to erase bad memory, and LSD. After they'd done that, they committed a multi-billion-dollar robbery behind their back and also right to their face. They stole their multi-billion-dollar fortune, their multi-billion-dollar bank account. You know, they stole it. Anyway, after they stole their multi-billion-dollar fortune as it is, the thing is, the Ku Klux Klan actually found out, when their friend was actually on the street, after they actually served the time in psychiatric hospital, they got kicked out in the street from their previous house. Their previous property was now called rental property, and now they've been kicked on the street with a multi-billion-dollar debt that no man could pay. Anyway, it might have been richer than the state annual budget. They couldn't pay it. They only had a pension. There was a skimpy pension of $1,000 a fortnight, and they had a multi-billion-dollar debt that no man could pay. like state annual budget. Anyway, they couldn't pay it. Anyway, they got kicked out of the street and they're homeless. Their Ku Klux Klan brothers caught up to them, did a background dig inside the police department, and as they did a background dig inside the police department, they found out what the state government had actually done. So the Ku Klux Klan members got in touch with the KGB Department of Psychiatric Hospitals, got the LSD and all the rest of it, and also the magic pill to erase bad memory, got all those drugs, got magic pill to erase bad memory, and slipped it into the cuffs of all the officers in the police department, all the officers in the psychiatric hospital, and all the government department officers as well. So they did that as well. So that was the full report. After they did that, guess what happened? After they did that, all those officers lost their memory and they were sent to a psychiatric department and they were evicted from their jobs. They used what they call face mask software to hide inside the legal system to say everything's still going right with the legal system. And they replaced state ministers, state government leaders and federal authorities, and they replaced them as well. And they went up and down the legal system replacing state authorities, state legal system managers and state legal system people. And so they committed a multi-billion-dollar debt the other way, and they started victimising the legal system, and they did the same thing. What happened to them the first time by the state government, now the state government's now the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan repeated the same crime what the state government actually did to the general public one way, and now the Ku Klux Klan started to the general public back the other. So the general public's actually suffering the wrath as well. So basically saying, we'll punish these bastards back the other way. So now the public are actually suffering the wrath of the Ku Klux Klan, and they don't know where the state government is because they know the state government is actually hiding amongst the general population. So now the general population are being deported and sent to Somalia and Bosnia, and now there's a multi-billion-dollar debt, and now anyone with multi-billion-dollar fortune artworks are now being sent to a psychiatric asylum, being put on LSD, being put on interrogation meds, being put on magic pill to erase bad memory, being done sensibly as it is, so it makes sense. They got put on interrogation meds to get them to weed out their organisation, their work site, all the rest of it. They confiscated the work site. They signed hidden paperwork. They made illegal testimonies, and everything's actually legal. They confiscate the artwork. They make a multi-billion-dollar grab, and by the time you try to stand up and actually defend yourself as it is, you've been called crazy and been called psychiatric schizophrenia, multi-billion-dollar artwork robbery heist, and now this is a full report. And that's what led to 9/2001. Just check out my page as it is on this particular topic. I'll just go over it one last time. But you understand what I'm talking about. And the thing is, just check out Mark Anonymous Security on YouTube. You should see it for yourself. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.